We've tackled some fairly serious topics on the show, so I figured we'd lighten it up a bit today. I've been doing a lot story-wise, and I would like to kind of review and talk about world building with both Wonderdraft and World Anvil on today's Project Shadow.
I have something to say.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name's Charlie. You might know me better as sci-fi fantasy writer C.E. Dorset, especially if you're reading my new book, Crucify My Love. If I sound a little bit different today or a little bit low on energy, a week ago tonight, I tore the inner lining of my esophagus. And yeah, luckily, I had spent time earlier that day pre-recording shows so that they could come out, because I don't know how I would have gotten shows recorded otherwise. But I'm doing a lot better, feeling really good, so hopefully everything's on the mends. So let's talk about World Anvil and Wonderdraft. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, please take a moment to rate this podcast in whatever app you're listening to me on. It really does help out a lot. It tells the algorithms to share the podcast with more people. The more people that listen, the better chance there is for us to hang out and talk. And after all, that's why I do this. Even when I don't really feel so good. No, I am feeling a lot better. I just haven't gotten all the way back to 100% energy yet. So, you all know that I love world building. It's one of the things that just really motivates me and makes me want to continue writing. In fact, I kind of enjoy world building a little bit more than I do the actual process of drafting a book. So one of the things that we've decided this week, and by we, I mean me and Brian, because I like to bring in other people when I'm making decisions as far as my career in writing, is I'm going to be taking all of the world building stuff that I've been doing for myself and posting it over at World Anvil. Which, if you don't know, World Anvil is a wonderful community website designed for hosting world building, be it for a game or a fictional universe, anything. It's really got some powerful tools and I love using it. I have mentioned it in the past and kind of thought that it would be something that I would do, but it was more of like a background process that as I was refining my notes going forward, I would edit them and get them into a form to post over there. The decision that we made this week, because I think the worlds that I develop have so much in them that you all never get to see, that it would be really fun to actually kind of make world building the primary activity for a while. I already have a draft finished for Sanctify My Sins, the second book in the Mask of the God series, and I am just about ready to start writing Glorify My Name, which is book 3. And I thought what I would actually do is take some time and start building out World Anvil and putting up all of the information that I have. I have actually written up quite a few in-world documents as a way of helping me to understand how various activities were done, how various things came about, how things, manifested in the world. And I would like to share that with you all. So it's going to be a very different kind of writing, and the easiest way to keep up on that is you can either create a World Anvil account and follow the Ash Dancer World Anvil, the Ash Dancer world over there, or I will be tweeting and posting to Facebook the articles as they're written. I'm having a lot of fun with it because there's so much in my mind. There's so many stories that are never going to be told in the books. And this gives me a place to put those so that you all can see them. For example, there's a one-off line in the book that their ship, the Kurenai, was named after their favorite sword saint that they used to read stories of. This actually gives me a chance to put up at least a basic article about Kurenai so you can get a sense of who that was and why he was so important to them. But of course, because it's me and I am who I am, the first thing I wanted to do was get the maps perfect. Because I would like to be able to use some of the features of World Anvil to actually link important sites and places on the map to the articles and vice versa. And while I have spent months and months and months refining the maps that I had, I never was quite happy with them. And that's why I ended up getting a copy of Wonderdraft. In fact, I got it as payment for an Earthdawn game I'm going to be running. So, because I didn't really want to run an Earthdawn game, I wanted to run a Ryutama game. And so they got me a copy of Wonderdraft to do the game maps in. And I get to use it for my other stuff too, which is awesome. I have used a lot of mapping software. And depending on what your actual desires are, what your actual needs are, it may or may not fit in with what you're wanting to do. I don't think there's a perfect solution out there at all. Fractal Mapper is difficult to use and has a lot of problematic features. Fractal Terrains is nice. It has a lot of good tools in there to help you build climates and continents and all that fun stuff. But it's not as easy to use as it should be. And in some ways, if you're wanting to use it for fiction, it's overly simplistic and doesn't allow the depth that you want. Fractal Terrain, let's see. What is it? Yeah. Anyway, let's just leave this short. I've used a lot of different mapping softwares to create the maps that I've been using. And as I've been playing around with them, as I've been working with them, I've spent a long time. I've spent a lot of time refining the maps and getting them to a place where I am happy with them. Which for me has been basically sitting around with Artifexian videos and the links that he gives to this, that, and the other, and hand doing a lot of stuff that I had used the software to automatically generate. And I kind of wish I had just started in Wonderdraft. The tools that it has for creating, for modifying, for marking up a map are beautiful. Now, we'll see if next year I am continuing to use Wonderdraft or if I switch over to Project Dios, because it looks awesome, but it's not going to be in beta until later this year. I needed something now, so we'll talk about that more once it actually is out and something that we know exactly what its features are, because it promises to do a lot of wonderful things. Oh man, that I want it to be able to do. So that may be my future, but Wonderdraft, I'm all about it right now. It has enough understanding of fractals and shaping that it makes realistic looking coastlines, which are very important. The jitter that it puts into rivers looks real. Its lake tool is interesting because it basically randomly generates a splotch that you can size and place. And that's pretty awesome, especially because lakes can be a really tricky thing to draw and make feel right. Its labeling function, its ability to hide and reveal various levels on the map, it has all of the features that for someone like me, who really wants a lot of control over the map, I really want. Now, I wish it had more icons in it. That's the one thing that I am a little frustrated by, especially when you start putting down like cities and stuff like that. The map symbols and glyphs that are available aren't everything that I wish that it had. But hopefully over time that will change and they'll get more, or I'll figure out how to add my own into it, which is actually a project probably for tomorrow. But yeah, if you're looking to make a map for your fictional world or to map out a real place, it has a really good trace function on it, which is actually what I used to make my map, because I had a map that I liked, but I wasn't in love with. So I was able to put that in as a trace layer and then go over it with their tools and refine it and make it look like what I wanted. Really easy. Definitely check it out. So let's talk for a minute about what is going to be going up over at World Anvil. So, like I said, I have a lot of stories about the setting and the world and the history of the various nation states and locations and people and all kinds of stuff that I would really like to make more open and accessible for you all. Because to me, that's the most fun part of getting into a setting. Well, actually, I just gave it away right there, right? It's getting into the setting. Like, I love reading books. I love watching movies. I love getting into TV shows and whatnot. But the thing that really hooks me and the thing that stays with me is a setting that I just want to spend time in. This is, I think, one of the main reasons why Star Trek, Star Wars, Dune, and things like that have really stuck with me, Tolkien and whatnot, because there's so much there to get into that's interesting and well done and well crafted. And it makes me just want to learn more and to see how all of these complex pieces have been put together to make the story work. Oh man, I love it. It's such a important thing for me to see how all of that got put together. And so in constructing my own fiction, I do a lot of that, but I write it kind of in my own note form so that I can easily use it, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to have to actually write articles for the site and put stuff on there. Now, I don't want you to get the wrong impression here, but one of the things that World Anvil is really good at is it has kind of Wikipedia type templates for each and every kind of thing that you would want to actually post about the world. And I'm going to be using those to tell the story of the setting and the characters and the magic and everything in the world of the Ash Dancer. I have also set up a world for the Dragons of Night setting that I write in and the forthcoming science fiction setting, which once I get more knowledge about that, I'll talk about that more. That way, as I'm developing them, as I'm working on them, as I'm doing the things that I do, I can take the time to actually go ahead, make the articles, and just make that a part of my routine. One of the nice things about World Anvil is they let me put a link to the Patreon on there. And while that may seem, a simple, small thing, it's really hard to make money as a writer. And the idea that I can tell all of these little side stories in all the ways that I want to tell them and have a chance of it helping to support me is huge. It's really huge. It's one of the biggest problems that I have with working on Wattpad, because yes, I want people to read my stories. Yes, I want the stories out there, but I also still have to find a way to make a living, and balancing that need to make money with my creative interest in getting as much information out there as I can to as many people, that's tricky. And there's part of me looking at World Anvil because they have a tier I can sign up at that would allow me to make certain articles patron only. And I don't know what I would make patron only, though. If you have any suggestions, let me know. One of the things that I thought I might use World Anvil for, if I eventually upgrade to that tier where I can put patrons only content up there, is a place to house draft copies of forthcoming books. So patrons would be able to go over there and actually see the drafts of Sanctify My Sins and some of the other works that I have in progress. I think that might be a really interesting thing to do, though I would love to hear from you all about what you would want. Because the biggest problem for me as a creative person is I feel like every time you ask somebody for money for something that you've created, it feels greedy to me. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so bad at it. I mean, if you've listened to this podcast enough, when I do the Patreon thing at the end, you can always hear the reticence in my voice to do it, because I don't want to sound greedy. I want to share. I want these stories to be out there because they mean so much to me. I want these characters to be out there because they mean so much to me. But at the same time, there are bills that I have to pay. A lot of the sites that I use to host this aren't free and whatnot. So it's a really hard balancing act for me. But just the idea that this might be able to bring more people into the worlds that I write in and get them really excited like I am about them, with that just chance that they might become a patron, it makes it easier for me to work at a place, work on getting all of this information out there. Just because, I don't have that little demon in the back of my head screaming at me, "You're not doing anything to make money right now. How are you going to pay your hosting costs? You need to do something to make money." Which is a demon I really wish I could shut up. Because, I don't like it. But given the world that we live in, it is something that I have to cope with. So, I'm very excited. The tier that I am paying at should actually remove ads for you guys, so you guys shouldn't have to see ads either, because I know how much they annoy me. So, I don't know, I'm excited. I'm really excited about this, and I hope that you all enjoy what's going up there. For those of you who have been reading the books, I would love it if you contacted me and let me know what articles you're most interested in, so I can prioritize them. Because right now, I'm being very, direct. I'm starting with the Mask of the Gods stuff, and so I'm working on the article about Kishan right now, and then going into, digging in from there, and then, writing the articles on the characters and their cultures and the magics they have. I'm being fairly focused on that, but you may have other questions, and I would love to hear them. So please do let me know what articles that you would like me to be working on. I might also start dedicating episodes of this podcast to talking about some of the content that I post over there, just because, like I said, it means a lot to me, so hopefully that will be all right. I mean, I already kind of know that if I'm not talking about something from Disney, Marvel, Netflix, Star Wars, Star Trek, or something like that, a lot of people tune out the episodes. But, I don't know. I want to talk about the things that I find most interesting, and I don't want to limit myself just to what is popular right now. Because I know from experience back when we ran a blog network, chasing that dragon is how burnout happens. So I want to thank everybody who is listening, who made it this far into the podcast. You're my hero. You make all of this worth it. And hopefully my energy will be back and I will be able to, really go after things. So we've come to that portion of the show where, if you haven't already, please take a moment to rate this podcast in whatever app you're listening to me on. It really does help out a lot. If you have a buck that you can spare, you'll find a link in the show notes, both to my Patreon and the community support tab. Difference between the two is people on Patreon occasionally get stuff. If you can join the project, please do. It really does help out a lot. That's the main way that I make money. For what it's worth, and it really would help me out a lot. If you don't have any money right now or you don't feel like giving, don't worry about it. I really do this because I love the conversation and I want to share with as many people as I possibly can. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like to hear discussed on the show or over on World Anvil, you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm CE Dorset on both Twitter and Instagram, or in the show notes you can use the voice message system to send me a voice message. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you all for everything. I'm glad that the heavy episodes that I did went over so well. We're almost done watching The Wu Assassins over on Netflix. And I have things to say about it. So be looking forward to that. And until next time, don't forget, have the fun. Bye.